doing hard stuff. Remember, Adam, I said it's heavy stuff. So when you see article makes a nice summary, you know
Yeah.
you know you've been doing a heavy stuff. So if you look on the art scroll on page 29B2, so in summation, when you have in summation, sounds like we're in the court, right? Right, Adam? You see in summation, and here
This
you see
part, this is
13
where they put this at the end.
at the end. You see 13 in summation.
Yeah.
The Gemara, and then it has a whole bolded here, just a little bit shows you that the the depth of the subjects that we've been learning, been very complex. Okay, we're starting the new Mishnah on 29B2. Okay, the Mishnah says the following. Now, lo yikov adam shefaferet shel beitza. A person should not make on Friday a hole in the eggshell of a egg. That means you already had removed the egg. You have an eggshell, and you want to use the eggshell as you want to put oil in it, and you can't go ahead and fill it up with oil. And for what purpose? And do what with it? And fill it up with oil. V'yitnena al pihaner, and place this eggshell with the oil in it on the mouth of a lamp, al pihaner, bishvira, let's say, on the mouth of call it a menorah, on the mouth of something on the mouth of something that you have a wick in it, and you have other oil in it, and the purpose is bishvil she'tehei minatefet. You want the oil to drip from this eggshell. There'll be a slow drip into this called menorah, which has the wick. And you can't do that on Friday. You can't have such a type of situation. Now, what's the issue? We'll see. Now, so throughout the Shabbat, there's going to be a dripping going into this to my menorah. Let's say a dripping of oil, and there's a concern. I might take from the oil that's in the eggshell for eating purposes, and that is a problem. Why is that a problem? Because since I designated the oil in the egg for the purpose of feeding this lamp, feeding this menorah, so one of the malachot on Shabbat is you're not allowed to extinguish Shabbat. You can't lower a flame, take out a fire on Shabbat. And here, the oil that's been designated for the lamp, if I remove that oil because I want to use that olive oil for my salad, I've taken away from something which was going to be used for fire, which was designated for fire, and now I had 10 ounces of oil that was going to burn fire for a certain amount of time, and now I got 8 ounces left because I removed. So because of that so some explain that therefore that is called mechaber. That is called, it's like extinguishing. So now the commentary says that mechaber, like we said before, is one of the 39 malachot on Shabbat. Taking out a fire is forbidden on Shabbat. We don't close lights on Shabbat. We don't take out fires on Shabbat. And the Tosos explains that
You mean the firewood, right?
So this is like firewood. This oil that's in the shell is like firewood. It's supplying the oil for this lamp.
So we don't touch firewood.
Right, but here's a different, right, but meaning, because it's like you're saying, a similar idea according to some explanation. If I have firewood is muktzeh, right? But the difference is um, this is not firewood. This is oil. I want the question, can I remove the concern is I'm going to remove the oil from this eggshell. And the removal of the oil from the eggshell is so is the Rush explains that is a problem of you're connecting with you are taking a fire out earlier than it's supposed to go out. So therefore, that is um, that is the concern. That's how the Rush explains the issue. Tosfos explains because when you take oil, when you there's a supply of oil and it's dripping in, and you take out some of the oil, it actually diminishes the fire. But let's go with the Russia's explanation. The Russian explanation is uh, is a more simple explanation that you have something. Good morning, Asaf. If you have something supplying Asaf, we just started the Mishnah on 29b2, where the Mishnah states you cannot make a hole in an eggshell and fill up the eggshell with oil and put it by the and put it and that oil is dripping into a lamp and supplying the lamp that has a wick in it, because if you go ahead and do that, it's like you're taking away a fire, because now the fire is going to burn less. So so therefore you can't do that on Shabbat. You can't extinguish fire or do something which is tantamount to extinguishing fire. I feel, and the concern is, right, because we don't want you to go ahead and take from that oil on Shabbat. The rabbi says, don't set it up in that fashion that it's going to be dripping into the lamp, because you might take the oil for personal use. You might go to use it for your salad. Even the thing that's dripping the oil into the lamp is not a container that's made out of an eggshell. It is from earthenware, and earthenware is not so pretty. And there is and you might say there's not such a concern that you're going to go ahead and use you're going to take from an earthenware utensil the oil, because we're not so concerned you might use it for eating purposes, because the oil, once it goes into an earthenware utensil, becomes not pretty. But still, you might take the oil for other types of uses that you might use, even though you might not use it for your salad. Maybe you'll put some of the oil on using for something else, some other purpose that people use oil for, and therefore we are afraid. Um, we make a gzeira, and we say, don't go ahead and set this type of thing up. Meaning to say, if you go ahead, if you have a lamp, let's say you're lighting, some people light Shabbat candles with candles, and some people use a oil for Shabbat, right? Some people use oil. Remember, seeing Rabbi Reuven Feinstein, I think, was one of the first people I saw that Shabbat, his wife would light with oil. It's not so, and I think the common custom, I think, right, Adam, I think it's candles, but they did oil it's a nice thing to cover Shabbat. They use oil, and many people use oil for Shabbat. So when you put oil into a cup with a wick, nobody's taking from that oil on Shabbat to use for their salads for some other use. The oil is in the cup with the wick. But here, it's not exactly oil in a cup with a wick. There's oil in a eggshell or oil in a earthenware utensil, which is dripping in to a another cup, right? So we have to get the we have to have the case clearly. You have oil in a cup, oil in an eggshell, and now the fact that it's an own container lends itself that you might come to take out some of that oil, which has already been designated as fuel for a fire. It's feeding the fire, which is underneath, right? It's dripping into this, the way I like I picture it, make believe you have like you have a menorah, which is a physical utensil, and you put a wick in the menorah, and you put and there's a little, and then but the supply for that wick is not, you didn't fill the cup of the menorah with oil. Rather, you're supplying it from something which is adjacent to the menorah, which is on top of the menorah, something make believe something nearby that's dripping in to the menorah. So there's an eggshell, which we should get the pictures.
Yeah,
Picture
very hard.
right. The picture Mishnayot. Let's see if over here. So if I would draw a picture, so I have let's say here's a menorah. Here's a menorah, just a container,
Okay.
a physical container. It has a cup, it has a hole, it has a cup on top, and usually you pour oil into the menorah with a wick, and you light it.
You light the wick, and then
And you light the wick, and the wick is absorbing from the oil that's in here.
that I've seen.
That's the common menorah.
Yeah.
Now, but here, it's the same. It has that opportunity, but instead of me putting in the oil into the menorah, which is the normal thing you do, you put oil in and you put the wick in it. I decided that instead of putting the oil in here, I put the oil in some other container, and I put the oil in the eggshell. And the eggshell is right on top. Let's say the eggshell is on top of the menorah, or on the let's say I would say more on the side of the menorah, and I made a hole on the bottom of the egg. I made a hole that the oil should drip in from that eggshell into the menorah. So
like it's above
it's above the
flame?
flame to the side. Let's say it's above the flame to the side,
Uh-huh.
and it's a drip, and it's dripping into the.
Okay, so this is because the cup that's holding the oil with the wick in it is just not big enough.
It's not big enough, or I set it up specifically. I wanted a slow drip. I didn't want to put oil. Maybe for whatever reason, I wanted a slow drip. And
So there
that
wouldn't
slow
be
drip,
too much
right,
oil
right,
in
right.
it.
Because I think they say that maybe it lasts longer.
So the dripping
Because the
is
dripping-
replacing what's being burned, so it keeps the amount.
Keep the mess
Okay.
flow. But because the oil is not directly, it's not directly in the menorah itself. I put the oil in this shell, and this therefore there's a concern. I might come to take some of that oil. Oh, we're having a Friday night dinner, and I might take some of that oil that's in the shell out for my salad. So you're going to say, what's the problem? I took oil. It's not a kiva story of muksa, but we're going to say it is muksa because it is, meaning it's not wood. But once that oil was designated for fire use, to serve a fire, so then it's not automatically you could someone to learn it's muksa. Muksa we translate it means it's set aside from my use, my personal use. When Shabbat came, it was set aside for burning purposes, not for me to use, which burning purposes is something which I can't do on Shabbat. So therefore, some will learn that the issue that the Mishnah is discussing is if, and I might, what's the concern? I might come to take from that oil on the Shabbat for my salad,
The eggshell oil, right?
the eggshell oil.
It's not caught up in the.
It's not caught up in the lamp itself, in the menorah itself,
That is a tough question.
right? So are we afraid? Are we not afraid? So the Rambam learns that since the oil has been set aside for burning, it is muksa. It can't be used for any other purpose. Even if the oil goes out or the oil drips out of the lamp. Now, I would have to see, I have to look at the Rambam himself to see, to see if the concern of the Mishnah is that, because generally the rabbis do not make a preventive measure to protect the rabbinic law. Meaning to say, you generally don't make unless on certain circumstances they do that, but in general, you don't say don't do this because you might do that. If you might do that is rabbinic, if the concern is rabbinic, we don't make a fence for a rabbinic law. We generally make fences to protect the Torah law. So maybe the Rambam has a different reason why you can't do this, maybe like what we said before, but nevertheless, you want to know it is muksa. This oil is muksa. But again, we could go with the Russia's reason, we could use the Russia's reason that this oil that once it's been designated to serve as a slow drip to the lamp. So if you're going to go ahead and you're going to we're afraid if you do this, if you're going to do this, we're afraid you're going to come to take out the oil for personal use, and taking out the oil for the personal use is taking away from the amount of fuel that it had. So that is compared to extinguishing. So again, you would have to ask the same question.
Future extinguishing.
Right. So the same question would be, we could ask on the rush. If I go ahead and I take something away from something else, that should not be a biblical violation of extinguishing. But if there was enough fuel to last for 10 hours, and now I take off some of the fuel and it's 8 hours, would that be the Torah violation of extinguishing? I didn't extinguish anything. I just caused it to go out earlier. Would that be considered a Torah violation? We'd have to look into that.
Essentially, it would be like if you took a spoon into the original cup of oil that has the wick in it and took out some of the oil.
Right. So if I would take a spoon and took out some of the original oil that's with the wick, so there would be multiple possibilities. Number one, now it's going to burn less time. So it's total. Is that called? Right. Is that called? Would we look at that as a Torah violation of extinguishing or rabbinic violation of extinguishing? But that would be a problem.
That's the rush.
That would be the rush. And other opinion, Tosfos would say, see, in your case, it's easier to see that the fire, if you have oil that's directly in a cup, and you a menorah, and you remove some, you take out from that cup the oil, the fire is going to get a little lighter. The intensity of the fire, of the strength. So that is a direct, action of extinguishing. Right. So that's more direct. See, we have to understand the opinion of Tosfot that he holds that it actually is the reduction of the oil in the lamp causes the flame to glow less intensely, and that's partial. But the only question we have to see is that is that a direct, meaning I go ahead and I remove the oil, so now the flame is not going to grow. It's not going it's not going to be as strong because it has less supply.
Yeah.
And therefore, that's called extinguishing. But the question of that is that really direct extinguishing, or that's only a little cause, a little removed from it? They called the Tosfos Mistapek. Okay, so that is some of the issue over here. Let's take a look in the commentaries over here, because so they quote the Tosfot in Gemara Beitza that since Tosfot says, yeah, so that this fits in what I was saying. The Tosfot says that it doesn't mean you're actually extinguishing the fire, because you're only causing the fire by removing the oil which is feeding it. You're causing a extinguishing, correct? If I take away from the supply, I am causing an extinguishing. But the Gemara means that the moment that I remove a little bit of the oil, that causes that the light is going to be diminished, because that moment now it doesn't have its supply, right? So if I remove the supply, the fire, the intensity of the flame goes down, does not it's not going to be as strong, and it's forbidden because it looks like extinguishing. See, it's interesting the way the Art Scroll quoted it, the Art Scroll quoted Tosfos, and the way the Mesivtas quoted Tosfos seems a little different. You see, the way the Art Scroll quoted in note 14, removing some oil causes the fire to go out sooner, and that is tantamount to extinguishing directly. Right. So, they say Tosfos maintains that the reduction of oil causes the flame to glow less intensely, and the reduction and this constitutes a partial extinguishing of the flame. It's not constitutes a partial extinguishing of, and this constitutes a partial. It's not that there's actually, they don't mean there's actually the extinction of the flame happening when you go ahead and you take out the oil, right? Right? What did I do? This oil atom, right, is feeding this, right? It's feeding this cup. Now that I take out the oil, it doesn't go into the cup, and now the light is not going to be strong. But did I make the light not strong, or I did something that caused the light not to be strong? See, when I go ahead and in your case, Adam, when you actually go into the actual cup, it's possible more to say over there. There's possible more to say, or when you take out a fire, that it might the light might get less.
It just happens right away. It's like
simultaneously.
It's like on the lamps, some lights, they have what do you call it, like a sliding scale. It's not just on or off. The dimmer.
Right.
It's effectively that.
Right. So now, the question is, am I directly doing an action that's dimming the fire? Am I dimming the fire directly, or I'm doing something that makes it that the fire will be dimmer, but I didn't do it directly and dim the fire. I did something, meaning my action, if I blow out the fire, I knocked out the fire.
The question seems to be there's going to be a delay.
There can be delay.
Does the delay matter? Like if I went to the control room of my building in the basement and played around with the switches, and then 15 minutes later, everyone's lights are dim, that would seem to be clearly this violation in that context.
Right. Or the question is, the way Tosfos is saying, it looks, see, it might be different between a case when it's happening simultaneously,
right,
or something when there's a real delay. At least Tosfos says the appearance over here, when you have something that's fueling a lamp and you remove that oil, it looks like you took out the fire.
Oh, you mean like how it looks?
I mean, it looks
Which
even
one
though I
do
did,
look?
but I didn't actually take out the fire. I took away the supply that supplies the fire. Did I take out the fire? Did I extinguish the fire, or did I do something that caused the extinguishing of the fire?
There's no dumping of water on the fire.
Exactly.
That's for
There's
sure.
no direct right. So Tosas now said, so what is the violation here? If I did not directly close the fire, meaning I did not dump water on the fire. So what is this violation that we're concerned? Meaning how am I? What is the violation?
I think there's two ways to put out the fire. You add a compound of water that puts it out, or you starve it of the things.
Right.
So if I were to suffocate the fire, no one would say, I think that's not me extinguishing it, even though I haven't added anything to it. I just took away its oxygen.
Right, but when you suffocate, the question: what does it mean? But your action, you suffocated the fire. What happened? You that the oil will not.
I'm saying no, I mean suffocate. If you suffocated of oxygen, let's say, like some people put out fires like that, that seems like an obvious case. And I'm saying suffocating it from oil is the same as suffocating it from oxygen because it's distinguished from throwing a new compound on like water. I think it just looks different, but really it's the same thing. Like the fire but it happens right away with the ox. Like, like some people, like they put it out, they put a cover on, and then candle goes out. So like that, you're just suffocating from the oxygen, which is the same as suffocating from oil. It just takes longer because there's still some oil in the thing. So that's how I'm seeing it.
Right. So we have to know if the suffocation of the oxygen, how do we deem that, right? So you're
I
saying
think that would be obvious.
you're saying that's definitely extinguishing the fire.
Because just visually, it just looks like that. Because like when someone just covers it up, it's out a second later. Like obviously you extinguish
But
it.
is there a delay or not?
I know that would be no delay. So I guess the issue is the delay. The delay of time, or is it what's happening chemically?
Okay, so there's something called causing something to go out, and there's something called taking something out. So that's the and here Tosfos wants to say that Tosfos understand this is called a cause of. This is not categorized when you remove the oil.
Yeah.
It's not categorized as extinguishing, rather it's categorized as causing extinguishing, and the problem is that it has a look of extinguishing. But then the question of that would be also a look of extinguishing. And the rabbis felt that we have to make a enactment. Don't do something that looks like extinguishing, because then if you allow that, then people will come to extinguish a fire.
Okay, so it's really just a wall.
It's a wall. The rabbis say, don't take out this oil. According to this, it's a wall. It's a protection.
I get it. Because people are gonna say, "Oh, I could put the fire out by starving it from the eggshell.
So now,
Why don't I just put it out?" Like,
exactly. Okay, this is very interesting.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for all your we're working out this Gemara, everybody. Have a great day.
Any questions, Alan?
Take care, everybody.